Welcome Emma Schirmer Tamir. Emma transforms her insatiable curiosity into conversion spiking copy. As co founder of Marketing by Emma, she's helped over 650 businesses around the world boost their sales, building their brands through authentic, compelling copy. Excite your dream clients and turn your websites, your Amazon listings, and more into effective sales machines with the Amazon team. Welcome to the Post Purchase Pro podcast. This is the only podcast that dives deep into post purchase marketing to help Amazon sellers increase sales, rankings, reviews, and profits. It's everything that happens after the initial sale that makes a difference. We call this the back end. Welcome, Emma. We're so excited to have you here today on the Post Purchase podcast.
Thank you both for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, great.
Amazing,
So
Emma.
before we get started, Seth, why don't you introduce or bring the first question up for Emma,
Yeah.
and then I will follow up. So welcome again, Seth. Take it away.
Yeah. Well, before we get too far into this, Sean, I just wanted to kind of relive some moments from a couple months ago, Emma. We were able to all come together in this amazing beach house. We called it the retreat, right? And Emma was the life of the party, brought in so much energy. And as soon as, as we were wrapping up the event, we knew that Emma was definitely someone we wanted to get her message out and bring her on the podcast to share, because what she shared with us over that weekend was amazing, where her and her team are able to dramatically help Amazon sellers make a lot more sales. And some of the things that she shared with me, we want to kind of extract it from her today. So, Emma, let's take it all the way back and kind of, tell us a story about how you discovered marketing, how you kind of got into this world, and what kind of set you on this path.
First of all, I think this is the first time in my life that I've ever been called the life of the party. So thank you for that. I'm more of the wallflower typically. So I kind of fell into marketing. I was always a strong writer when I was younger, and I was just taking jobs even during college. And whenever a boss discovered that I could write an email well, they're like, well, we kind of want to do this newsletter, or we have this blog, or, and so I just kind of fell into it that way before I even had an official marketing title. And so as I started to have some of those opportunities, I began to just grow more interested in the space. And I think what really grabbed me about marketing is that it allows you to explore so many different facets of things. So it's not just about how to put words on a page, it's understanding human psychology and the impact that choosing one word over another word can have on whatever behavior it is that you're trying to get from somebody. And so that's what really sucked me in and sort of took me on this journey to where I am today, where I own my own copywriting firm.
That's beautiful. So as Seth said, we got a chance to hang out and get to know you and your wonderful, fully energetic husband, Erez. That was a good time. He makes me feel lazy because he's just so full of energy. But
Me too.
I started putting collagen in my coffee after you talked about it, and now you can see my crow's feet are kind of going away, dissipating a little bit. So
You like the collagen? Now I have
can't
some
tell the
other.
difference. It doesn't taste like anything. It just adds to my coffee. Adds a little bit, a couple of calories, and makes me feel like I'm doing something good for my body. So, yay for me.
Well, now I have an alien-like LED mask that I've been trying out that's supposed to stimulate collagen production and minimize fine lines. So if you're in the mood to spend a few $100s, I can send
Hey,
you the
she
link.
was joking about that, honey. Okay. Yeah. So my wife's got all kinds of collagen sitting on the counter based on her conversations with you and Whitney as well. So now I'm going to hit you with a question you probably hear a lot, Emma, and I just want to, you were not prepared ahead of time. That's what makes this more fun. So for you, what is the definition of marketing when applied to an Amazon business?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. It encompasses so much, and I think one of the elements that gets people kind of confused is the traffic and conversions. And both of those things together are what marketing is about, but they're not actually the same thing. And so you need to have both in order to have a healthy business. But where we really thrive is in helping with the conversions. So what you make sure that when you are bringing the traffic to whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's advertising on social media and sending it to your Amazon listing or sending out an email or whatever it is, that when people arrive at their destination, that you've really thought about what it is that that person is considering, where they are in their mind, and how you can establish a meaningful interaction. And so marketing isn't trying to sell someone something. It really is understanding a need that people have and then helping give them the information that they need to be able to make a decision that's in their best interest.
Well, I know it's not the 45-degree weather here in the Gulf Coast of Mississippi that give me goosebumps. Is the fact that you just said the same thing that Seth and I are preaching almost constantly. You're not your own customer. You have to answer the questions that your customer's already asking. And as you already know, and you said it in other words, Emma, if your customer, your prospect, feels understood, then your offering, product, service, whatever it may be, becomes the obvious solution to scratch their itch. Seth, I know you're chomping at the bit there.
Well, I think I can take the words right out of your mouth, Sean. So, Emma, what we say around here all the time is you want to enter the conversation that your customer's already having inside of their mind. So, if you can step right into that, and that's exactly what you're saying. So, I love that you actually apply this to Amazon. You know that Sean and I are email junkies, so we get to test all this stuff out with email marketing. But when you apply it to Amazon, you can see changes almost immediately. So, one of the things that you've spoken about, Emma, is small fixes, big wins. Can you kind of boil that down into the 20% that's going to get us the biggest result?
Yeah, so one of the really interesting things about Amazon in particular is that it's not a captive audience on your website where you are controlling the messaging, you're controlling the whole customer journey. Right there next to you are all of your top competitors that are trying to get that same customer. And so the stakes are high, the intensity is high, and you need to make sure that you're really doing a good job of understanding not just what your customers need, but also how you fit into that landscape. And one of the biggest things that I see people doing is they look at the top competitors in whatever category it is that they're trying to sell in, and they're like, okay, they're number one. These are clearly the five most important things that people care about. So I'm going to make my bullets about those. And this is what they're talking about in their description and their A plus content. So I'm going to, gently borrow some ideas and rework them to be my own. And what is that doing to you? That's really just kind of diluting your opportunity of being able to be successful because you have these big players. They probably already have a bunch of reviews. Maybe they also have more write-ups off of Amazon. So if somebody's searching Google and wanting to sort of validate that this is a legitimate product, they have more spaces to get that kind of information. And so if you're just trying to copy them, you're making it so much harder. So the first thing, and this isn't necessarily a quick win, but it is essential and something that I think is worth taking the time and effort to do before you get into some of the quicker fixes, is to be really, really clear about how you fit into the competitive landscape and what makes you different. And taking that frame and then really carrying it through everything that you're doing. Because if you're not giving people a point of comparison and giving them an opportunity to understand what makes you special, then it's going to be really challenging for a customer to be able to make a decision. I mean, I think probably all of us have had that situation. Unfortunately, I have it pretty frequently where I go on Amazon and I want to search for something really basic. And I end up just feeling totally stressed and overwhelmed because I'm like, there are a million options here. All of their listings look exactly the same. I have no idea what makes one different than the other. So because of a lack of information, I'm kind of forced into choosing the one with the most reviews or the cheapest or whatever criteria that is. But if a brand really took the time to build out something that is going to resonate with me, then they might not have to be the number one seller to get my money.
Right.
Okay.
So, Emma, one of the things that I heard recently that I think you'll appreciate is that, when you are entering the marketplace, especially on Amazon, there has to be a reason for you to exist. And what you just said is like your product could be the exact same, but if you're copying everything that your competitors are doing and you're not differentiating at all, then what's the reason that you're existing? You're not serving a customer any better than what's already there. So you have to have a reason to exist, Sean.
Yeah, thank you, Seth. This brings up something that's a super valuable piece of content or strategy that we like to share with other sellers. And I would implore you to check out creativecloning.com. I'm talking about you, Emma Schirmer Tamir, because what you're going to see is the strategy that Seth and I try to advocate for, where you create multiple listings for the same product, and each one of those listings would speak to a different audience. And we often like to use the example of Tylenol. So, Tylenol is just acetaminophen, right? There are 500 milligrams of acetaminophen in Tylenol, the exact same ingredients in Tylenol extra strength. And lo and behold, if you go Tylenol migraine, it's the exact same ingredients in a different wrapper. So if you walk into CVS or Walgreens or wherever and you have a migraine headache, you walked right by Tylenol, you walked right by extra strength and rapid release because this package spoke to you and it said Tylenol migraine, because that is the itch that you need to scratch right then and there. So we try to create listings, Emma, that speak specifically to a sub niche within our category. So for example, if you're selling dog collars, we'll say, well, dog collar is a dog collar around the world, right? But if we were selling dog collars, we would create a listing for each specific breed and or size of dog. So if you have a German Shepherd and you're searching for a dog collar, how much more likely are you to select my listing that says German Shepherd dog collar, all sizes, and even pay a little bit more because we're answering that question that you're already asking. So check out that training because I think we're going to figure out a way we can work together on that. You're going to love it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So one of the other ideas that it's just kind of sparks in me is you also create more opportunities for business. when you're talking about the Tylenol example in particular, because then it opens up the ability, instead of just having this one pill bottle that serves all these functions, now you have a whole row in your medicine cabinet of Tylenol, Tylenol
Right.
PM, Tylenol migraine, and it's all the same thing. So they've just been able to sell you more. And I mean, it sounds kind of, malicious when you put it that way, but from a business perspective, if you know that that's how people's mind works, and especially when they're in a high stress situation or they have this immediate problem that they need to solve, if you have a migraine, you don't want to be reading packages. You just want to go to the thing that says this is going to help your migraine go away.
Give me the cure, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
definitely check that out. And I would love to book some time with you later to talk about how we can specifically work together, because a lot of our followers within our community are utilizing this exact strategy, but they don't have necessarily an understanding of copywriting or sales copy. They're just saying, okay, let me position the product this way, this way, and this way. And I think you're going to love that strategy.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
So I understand that you discovered accidentally that you know how to talk to people. You're obviously a great communicator. You have a wonderful personality. You can send an email. You can write a sales letter. But at some point in your career early on, what was that defining moment where you pivoted and became what is now known as Emma Schirmer Tamir?
Honestly, I can't take full credit for that. So I cannot. Uh, I am someone that, like just this morning as I was getting dressed, I was listening to a podcast about imposter syndrome. So I'm someone that, I suffer from a lot of self-doubt. That is a struggle that I've had my entire life. And I was very fortunate enough to meet my husband, Erez. And before we were even married, he was already encouraging me to allow him to help get my name out there. And I was pretty resistant to that at first. And eventually he just kind of got tired of waiting. So by this point, we were already married, and I was away doing sales and marketing for a health and wellness company. And I came home, and he said, "Okay, a lot of people want to talk to you about marketing by Emma on Monday." And I was like, "What do they want to talk about?" This is very overwhelming and shocking to me. And so it was kind of a crash course from there, and just trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. And I had never even been a manager of other people. So it wasn't just learning how to build a business, which I also had zero experience doing, but understanding how to create a space that allowed people's creativity to thrive, and to do all of that while also trying to grow the business. It has not been boring, I will tell you that.
So my guesstimation is this must have happened about 5 years ago in February of 2017. Is that about right?
It was the very end of 2016 that Eris started getting antsy.
Okay. All right. I did a quick search, and I noticed that you registered your domain in February 22nd of 17. So
Yeah, so that was I had already gotten my business license, but I was just operating under my name, and I didn't have a website yet. And the local paper was like, "Hey, we'd love to do a story. We like doing stories on new businesses." And I'm like, "Can you give me a little bit of time, because I don't have a website, and it would just not make sense to have an article and no website." So
it was
we didn't have a business. Yeah, we didn't have a business name or anything, and it was just kind of a scrambling. We thought of a million different names, and then we thought, okay, marketing by Emma will be a placeholder. And 5 years later, it's hasn't gone anywhere. So
yeah, I understand. Obviously, we could talk all day long, but we're going to have to ask a couple of wrap-up questions, and would love to have you back on later on in the season as we get closer to fourth quarter, and after you've checked out creativecloning.com. It's going to blow your mind.
I just committed it to memory, and I'm going to be typing that website into my browser as soon as we wrap up this call.
So, what,
Emma,
Emma, makes your marketing strategy better than the average seller who does not understand sales?
I think sellers get so stuck in the keywords that it really limits their ability to be able to write a listing that's also going to be effective and compelling for the customer. So, of course, or maybe not of course, but SEO is 100% essential to being successful on Amazon. But SEO isn't just about incorporating the keywords. It's also making sure that you are facilitating a positive experience with the customer, both in getting a transaction, but also a transaction that's going to stick. Because Amazon is factoring a lot of different elements into how you're ranking, and it's not just, are you selling a lot on this keyword? It's also, are people happy with the purchase and keeping it, or are they returning it? And if they're returning it a lot, that's indicating to Amazon, hey, something isn't right here. This is being misrepresented in some way. And so you want to be really considering how to find the keywords that you need, but then incorporate them in a way that it's not going to take away from the impact of the listing and being able to communicate with the customer.
Yep, good point there. And it seems like it's really easy to think that Amazon is this black box and you have to give it all the keywords at once. But you have to remember that Amazon is trying to get you to serve their customers in their minds, right? So you have to, like we said, step into the conversations that real people are having, and that's why we love talking to you, Emma. Emma, did you have any mentors in the game? I know Erez kind of gave you the push over the edge to believe in yourself and to kick this thing off. But was there anybody that mentored you along the way that helped out and kind of taught you some big lessons?
I've honestly taken a lot of mentorship from books that I've read, and not necessarily from one person in particular, but really going to the experts in whatever it is, and either reading their what they've written or listening to their podcasts, and that's where I get a lot of the insights without needing to have contacts to lots of incredible people, especially when you're just starting off. It's not necessarily easy to get a foot in the door with people. And while I could maybe find somebody locally that knows something, they're not going to be at the same level of expertise as the person that wrote the book on the topic. So that's kind of been my approach
Yeah.
to things.
Charlie Munger says something like, the best mentors are the best in their fields, and maybe they're not even alive. So the best way to tap into them is to read their book. So I love that. Sean, what else you got?
Yeah, so my mind is going 1,000 different directions. So I can relate to a lot of what you said there, but you brought me way back, Emma, to my very first experience when I thought, or well, when I did not realize the importance of marketing as we know it. Okay, so laugh at me because it's a hilarious story. I created my first business when I was 16 years old. I was going outside of my comfort zone of my community and selling products. Well, I immediately had like the American dream. I thought, why go out and work so hard? Why not just open a store on Main Street? So, like a lot of naive first time business owners, and I'm not picking on anyone individually, but first time Amazon sellers seem to make this mistake. I went and rented a storefront, put my product in the store, and for whatever reason, in my young teenage mind, I thought that if I just simply hang a sign out, and it was called the Treasure Chest, was the name of my store, just hanging the sign out gave me the authority to expect people to walk in and spend money with me. And all it really did was create a ball and chain where I had to be at that cash register about 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. So my lesson was don't sit around and wait on someone to find you. Go out and find those people through marketing and effective marketing. And that's when I kind of started my understanding of marketing, even though we didn't call it that. So that's what it reminds me of. Like, sure, Amazon's going to send you some traffic. There are millions and millions of buyers every day shopping around. But the more that you can do to set yourself apart and command the attention of those shoppers as they're cruising by your listing, the better your conversions, the better your sales, the higher your profits. So don't ever be satisfied. You need to take this approach your Amazon listing seriously and approach it as you're not selling to yourself, right? There's an actual human on the other side of the computer looking for a solution to a problem, and they want to scratch that itch, is what I'm talking about. So for anyone who, if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, Facebook, or listening to it, either way, if you go to postpurchasepro.com/Emma, EMMA, postpurchasepro.com/Emma, we're going to give you Emma's proprietary branding worksheet that you can use as a checklist. Emma calls this the Convert Like Crazy worksheet, and I cannot wait for you to get your hands on it. Emma, say a little bit about that, and then I'll let Seth wrap this up.
Yeah, so when we were kind of talking back at the beginning of the conversation today, we spoke about the importance of really understanding how you fit into the competitive landscape, and that is an essential piece of things. And then we continued that conversation and talking about the way that you can position a product to really fill a need, even if it's something that's almost creating a category that didn't need to exist or didn't exist before. You didn't reinvent the dog collar. You just decided to call it something that nobody else called it. And so what this worksheet's going to help you do is to start asking those questions that you need to be asking to understand the space that you're selling in, to understand the customer that you're selling to understand who you are as a brand, so that you can begin to figure out how to piece all of those elements together to not only make a stronger Amazon listing, but to just make better decisions for every aspect of your business, whether it's product development, whether it is how you choose to market something, whatever it may be. Answering these questions is really essential to having a deeper understanding of what it is that you're doing and how you can make that stronger.
Amazing. So guys, get that at postpurchasepro.com/Emma. You'll be able to get the Convert Like Crazy worksheet. I've can't wait to go through it myself. So Emma, you're one of the only sellers or business people in the space that really understands marketing. So I'm dying to ask you this question: what's a book or a resource, or what's like your favorite place you'd point somebody to, whether that's a book or a resource that you've been exposed to over the years?
So I think one of the best books that I've ever read, just period, is a book called Thinking Fast and Slow. And it's a book about human psychology, but it's more specifically about all the ways that our minds function totally counterintuitively to what we think, how they think they do. Because, we're taught humans are rational, logical people. And every day we see that that's not the case, but we still also like to tell ourselves that we are. And so not only can this book help you understand the way that your customer's mind is functioning, and so how you can use that information to do whatever it is that you're doing more effectively, but it also helps you understand where you're getting in your own way and where you also can have some more attention to bring to things, so that whether it's making the assumption, like we talked about at the beginning of the call, of just thinking that your product and so everybody else will too. And it's so easy to fall into those little traps. And if you don't know that they exist, then you don't even know that you're stuck in one. And so this book in particular, and a lot of other books on that topic, can do such a great job of also giving you the insight that you need so that you can make better decisions as a business person.
So let me just make sure we're going to put this in the podcast notes. Danny's got access to the notes. It's Thinking Fast and Slow. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you happen to know the author?
I believe it's Daniel Kahneman, and don't ask me to spell his last name. I think it starts with a K, but actually, I just decided I'm going to reread that book. I read it a few years ago, and it's kind of rusty for me, and it just made such an impression that I think it needs another reading.
Love it. Never heard of it, and I have plenty of them right behind me here, mostly sales, marketing, and copywriting. Obviously, I have the entire Gary Halbert letters printed and bound in my bottom shelf because I'm scared to death that Bond and Kevin are going to take the website down someday. So Thinking Fast and Slow, go check it out. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon, maybe on Audible. Emma, before we sadly say goodbye to your personality and all the energy that you bring, where can people find out more about you?
Sure. So you can go to marketingbyemma.com. There you'll be able to find email, phone number, Facebook, whatever your preferred mechanism of communicating. We have all of that there. And we do also offer free listing analysis. So if you're like, all of this is totally over my head, I don't have any idea what you're talking about, and I don't have the time to go down the rabbit hole of learning all of this stuff, we're happy to take a look at your listing and provide you some free insights of the things that we see as opportunities that you can even take and do yourself. Or if you don't have the desire, we can also help with that as well.
Brilliant. I love it. Marketingbyemma.com. Go there, check it out. You can find email, phone number, Facebook link, whatever your preferred social media source. And grab Emma's Convert Like Crazy worksheet when it comes to branding in Amazon at postpurchasepro.com/Emma. Any final parting words of wisdom, Emma, before we sadly hang up?
I think I drained all my wisdom. I'm just going to have to go through the rest of this day wisdom free.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and sharing with our community. As always, we take everyone who's watching, we take your attention and your time seriously. We know that you can spend that anywhere you'd like. So we thank you for spending a few minutes with us and learning more about Emma and marketingbyemma.com. On behalf of the Post Purchase Podcast, myself, Sean Hart, Seth Stevens, thank you, Emma Schirmer Tamir. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.